In the vast rangelands of East Africa, rearing of livestock is the dominant way of life. Along with hunting and gathering, this system has endured for centuries, proving highly resilient in what's often an extremely harsh environment. But competition for land in the rangelands is increasing as more land is fenced for oil exploration, for conservation and for individual use. And frequently, it's the traditional managers of the land who lose out, leading to contradictions and conflict between different land users. How best to secure rights to the rangelands is a matter of debate. In Kenya, a lot of focus has been put on individual land tenure, and this may have some advantages. But in communal areas, it's contributed to the breakdown of traditional or customary practices and institutions, again threatening the rights of local users. In other countries, attempts have been made to introduce a more communal system of land tenure. In Tanzania, for example, this has taken the form of registration and certification of individual and group rights to village land, facilitated through a process of village land use planning. This film documents a 13-day journey through Kenya and northern Tanzania, part of a 2-year-long learning initiative. Participants on the journey came from Africa, Asia and Europe, from organisations working on behalf of rangeland people. On the route, they met with rangeland communities, exploring their challenges and investigating their innovations in securing their rights to land and resources. Through the learning route, they built their understanding of how local rangeland users can better protect their interests, identifying key elements of securing land tenure and developing effective governance systems. Located in the heart of Laikipia, 9 group ranches have joined together to create the Naibunga Conservancy, removing the fences to allow freedom of movement for livestock and wildlife. The community's development of land use planning for conservation, grazing and fodder production has contributed to improvements in rangeland management. The 9 group ranches have also been able to invest in ecotourism activities, thereby raising funds to send their children to school. Around 12,000 people, mainly Maasai, live in the area.
Right now we are at Cultural Boma, which is a women's project for income generating activities. What they do is that they construct the traditional houses, and it's also a time where they do a display of the beadwork activities that they do and market them. So there's so much money that they will get, whereby from the lodge visitors will come in, they walk into the cultural boma, there's an entrance fee. If you want to get to a traditional Maasai house, you pay some money, so it's an income generating activity for them.
One thing that has really caught my eye regarding the Naibunga Conservancy and regarding the ranches is that membership in the ranch is by virtue of your being a member of that community. And you realize that all the people belong to particular ranches in their communities, and there's nothing like individualized land holding. All the land is held by the community.
The Garba-Tula district, a vast area that covers over 10,000 square kilometres in northern Kenya, is home to around 40,000 Boran pastoralists. Although the Boran depend on customary systems for accessing resources and land, customary institutions have been weakened over the years. Consequently, the rangeland has been poorly managed and conflict has arisen between land users. Over the last decade, the community has taken action to revitalise its management systems and strengthen the community's access to their land and resources. The community is also developing new institutions to manage land tenure that fit with the processes now operating under Kenya's new constitution.
Garba-Tula is a unique concept altogether, because in Garba-Tula you find very strong conservational aspects in terms of very intact riparian vegetation, and the fact that wildlife could just stray even into the cultural manyatas at night shows you that really there is a lot of mix with the wildlife, and in as much as the wildlife are coming out of the park and into the village, which is acting as a dispersal area, they're putting up with them nicely, and the conflict is not so much. So for me, the conservational aspect was really, really quite encouraging and strong in Garbatula, I must say.
Another thing that impressed me in Garbatula is their water conservation. They have many rivers, but people are still doing conservation of water, like the wells for the dry season and the wells for short dry season.
With pressure from speculators and agricultural and settlement encroachment, the majority of group ranches in Kajiado, Kenya, have now subdivided. However, seeing that subdivision has led to the demise of pastoral livelihoods and increased vulnerability to drought, the Old Kirimatian community has fought to hold their ranch together. To make the most of their group ranch and to protect their grazing resources, the community have introduced zoning of land into different uses, including areas for livestock, conservation and tourism, and agricultural land divided into individual and household plots. Diversification of livelihoods has been made possible through the funds received from conservation and tourism activities.
We have got three different zones at the moment where we try to use different parts of the group and in different parts of the year, but also to use different resources that are available to us to the betterment of the population here. So we've subdivided the area. Primarily, the biggest chunk is for livestock rearing because it's the core. It's the main source of livelihood for the Maasai community that is living here. And then because of availability of water along the Ngurman escarpment, we've also used that area to do a little bit of cultivated agriculture, where every of the 1,300 members registered in this group ranch have got a parcel of land of between 8 to 10 acres that they're able to put into agriculture. And then we've also put at least a quarter of the area for purposes of conservation to try and bring in additional income through the tourism sector.
The other basic innovation I saw there in terms of conservation is really conservation pays there. They have a lodge there that's owned by the community, and they have conserved area for wildlife. They are living with wildlife, the people, livestock, and the wildlife are living together in harmony, which really surprised me there, because in most cases, most of pastoral areas, we think that wildlife will be given separate place.
Looking at Oklamatian, this is an area that is in the midst of a number of resources, where very many the communities can access very many resources, from wildlife to minerals to the waters through the rivers that are coming into the area. But one thing that was really under contention was the issue of the ownership of land and their inability to decide on the registration of membership and ultimately the subdivision of the land. We may say at the moment that their model is good, they're still holding on to the land and they can be able to sustain it and they can develop it communally.
Tanzania has one of the most progressive sets of policies and legislation for securing rights to common property. In 1998, the Ujamaa Community Resource Team, or UCRT, began to strengthen the capacity of local rangeland users in northern Tanzania to access, control, manage and benefit from their lands and natural resources. A key part of UCRT's work is to assist the communities through the village land use planning process. Working with local government, UCRT assists and trains village institutions to obtain certificates for their land and to develop village land use plans which zone the village land into different areas, including for grazing, agriculture and conservation. UCRT then helps to get approval from government for the village map, but also to establish governance structures to manage and secure the rights of the community to the land.
Visiting UCRT's field area, particularly the Tarate village in Tanzania, it was a wonderful experience for us because as an organization, they are working at various levels at networking, advocacy, and also they are directly doing implementation.
I impressed from the UCRT work. the way they are involving different stakeholders, like they involving government. This is very important aspect. Also, very good rapport with the community at the ground. And we also saw their network, network with NGOs, even forums, and with other stakeholders, people. So it's a very good strategy for lobbying and advocacy.
Securing rights to rangelands is a challenging process that requires complex systems and institutions. Clearly, there are no better examples than the experience of the local rangeland users who live and work within these systems.
Securing rangelands is very important for the development and sustainable management of the resources in the rangelands. The pastoralists, the hunter-gatherer communities, and other resource users who depend on resources from rangelands, they require secure and sustainable access rights, user rights, control and management rights to those resources. We have seen in the region the governments are developing good policies and laws to facilitate that process. However, we have also seen that in other countries, the process is yet to take off. Sometimes the policies are constraining, the laws are constraining. But in either situation, we still see that there's a lot of work to be done in this area. And for us to do it successfully, we must learn from each other.